Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, Grizzlies. We're here to talk to you about something. I'm here to talk to you about something very important. Something very important for me, but more importantly, something important to our great country. Veterans Day. Many, many honorable, proud, magnificent Americans have put their lives on the line for our country historically. Many have passed away, some were prisoners of war. Many people within our country have done the honor of serving in our military, in our armed forces. We have the best military, arguably, the world has ever seen. And it has these different components that have made it so great. Compassion, justice, integrity, honesty, dedication, hard work. My grandfather served in the military. These are qualities that he carried over to us, from his children to his grandchildren, that we're going to be honest, we're going to be respectful, we're going to be hardworking, we're going to be caring, we're going to be loving. And most importantly, our country. We're going to love our country because it's amazing. The opportunities that it has given us has been amazing. What we do here is beautiful.
On this Veterans Day, want to share about a veteran in my life. He is my grandfather. His name is Darwin Wright. He served in the Navy during the Korean War. This was back in the 1950s. He had just graduated from high school when the war broke out. He was with his friends in New York when they got the news. He came from a family of farmers in Blackfoot, Idaho. So they didn't have a lot of money, but he felt really strongly about the Korean War and about getting involved and serving his country. He and all of his friends that were with him in New York immediately went back to Idaho and enlisted. He joined the Navy, and he was on a ship in the Korean War that carried helicopters. Originally, he was just painting the ship. He really hated that job. So when a medic position came available, he took it. He saved a lot of soldiers in the war who had serious injuries, including one who was stabbed in the chest and looked like he wasn't going to survive. But my grandfather actually sat on his chest to put pressure on it, and the soldier survived. My grandpa later said he was too ornery to die, meaning he was just too grumpy and stubborn. But I think a lot of the credit goes to my grandpa for saving him. He always shared with us a lot of crazy stories about his time in the war, including a time when he was playing in the water. His commanding officer often let the men go out and swim. They would water ski behind a dinghy, and at one point he fell off and they didn't notice and they left him behind. And the water got really choppy. There were a lot of waves. And he found that another soldier had fallen in earlier and didn't know how to swim, which is surprising for the Navy. So he helped keep him afloat until help arrived, but they only had room for one person, so he sent that soldier off. They had to come back and find him an hour later, and he was still swimming. So those are some of the fun stories that I heard from my grandfather that always really impressed me, and just his willingness to help and to serve, to help his fellow soldiers, and also to help his country. It was all really important to him.
So the veteran in my life is actually my oldest brother. His name is Javier Mendoza, and he has served in the United States Coast Guard. He enlisted when I was probably about 3 or 4, so my brother's 16 years older than me. And because of that, I actually didn't grow up with him really around me. And I knew it was because he was serving our country. And that was a sacrifice as a family we made because we knew that he was doing what is best and protecting us and serving the United States of America. I remember him coming home. I remember we stayed up all night making signs for him. I remember we stayed in this hotel room as a family, and my other extended family came, and when he got off the ship, it was this big deal. I remember running up to him and like jumping in his arms, and then he showed us around the boat that he lived in for a year. He's given up a lot to serve our country. Actually ended up getting really sick because of the chemicals he was working with on the engines on the boat, and he's now retired. But because of that, of this illness, he gave a ton up that was kind of not suspected when he enlisted in the first place.
I am Melanie Christiansen, and you guys probably don't know me. I am the BHA at Granite Park. You may see me wandering around the halls with Mr. Bynum from time to time. My husband is a veteran of the first Iraq War, and he served until right before 2001, right before 9/11 happened. He was in the U.S. Army in the Special Forces, which means for his job, he jumped out of airplanes. Yes, I know, that is suicidal. One of his stories that he likes to tell is when he jumped out of an airplane at 35,000 feet. Yes, I said 35,000 feet. It required oxygen tanks and all sorts of stuff to make sure that he could survive jumping that high in the atmosphere. He really doesn't share a lot just because of what he did in the Special Forces. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of stories about him. I'm just really proud of what he did. He joined when he was 17, and his first position during the first Iraq War was to listen for intelligence on a radio, which is a really interesting position for a 17-year-old to have. My grandfather is a Korea War veteran. He will actually be 91 years old in December, and yes, he is still alive. He was injured twice in the fight for Chosin Reservoir during the Korea War, and so he has 2 Purple Hearts. He was a corpsman in the Navy, so he got to bring all the casualties out of the reservoir. Unfortunately, he doesn't talk a lot about it because of the memories it brings back.
My grandfather, he grew up in a place called Mounds, Oklahoma. He is the grandson of a woman whose parents were in slavery. He is also the grandson of a man who was a slave owner. And when the Civil War ended, my grandmother's side came from Georgia. My grandfather's side came from Mississippi. My grandfather, when he was growing up, obviously hardworking, very blue-collar guy, decided to serve in the military at a young age. He went to the Korean War, and during that time, he learned how to cook. Not only did he learn how to cook, he done it so well that he ended up cooking for President Ford, the President of the United States, a man from Mounds, Oklahoma, cooking for the President of the United States. Like, who would have ever guessed that? And then on top of that, just went on to have a very successful career within that profession. But more importantly than that, I didn't even know that stuff growing up. I didn't know, he never told me he cooked for the president. He never told me he was this big-time chef. He only told me he loved me. He was happy to see me. Let's play catch, let's play baseball, be hardworking, be honest. Here's $50 for the holidays. Like, that's all I ever knew about my grandfather. I learned when I got older about his role in the military, and just these wonderful pictures that I have of him. And I miss him dearly. Passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and that was heart-wrenching for me. To this day, I love my grandfather. I miss him like crazy, and just things like this help me to better remember him. And just as important, to remember those who have fallen and all of those who have served in our country. These soldiers, the many who have served in our military, fight for freedoms that you do not get in many places across the world. Freedom of religion.
The right to vote.
The freedom of press.
We could all have the opportunity to go to school and be somewhere where it's safe.
the right to get involved, and we all try to get involved in our own way, whether it's military service or just by helping our community.
Freedom of speech.
Where that's not the opportunity for some people.
I mean, these are things we all take for granted here. In other countries, it could cost you your life. So I just want to sincerely say thank you to all of those who have served. My goodness, we love you.
I am really, really proud of my husband and my grandfather for serving, for risking their lives, for doing what they did to ensure my safety and your guys' safety. I hope you guys understand the sacrifice that our service members have made to keep this country safe. And if you guys have any family who are serving, give them a huge hug and tell them thank you.
To our military, thank you for all that you do. May God bless you. May you have long, strong lives, and may your legacies forever live on in this great nation.
I'd like to thank all of our veterans who have served our country and who are currently serve our country. And if you guys see someone who is a veteran, make sure you say thank you and Happy Veterans Day.
Happy Veterans Day.
Happy Veterans Day.